Oh, hello. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Rob Tart. This is my cow Fluffy, and you're watching Pie's Perspective. All right, Fluffy, we gotta go. People are waiting on us. Fluffy? A teenager in Romania decided to burglarize his neighbor's home while they were asleep. Now, he might have gotten away with it if it wasn't for his cell phone. The phone rang within earshot of his sleeping neighbors. Now, the sleeping couple woke up and knew that it couldn't be their phone because they don't actually own a phone. Now, the burglar was detained by police, and as it turns out, this is the second time that he tried to burglarize his neighbor's home. Okay, first, let's talk about the obvious, or obvious to people with an IQ over 70. If you're going to burglarize a home, your next door neighbor should not be on your radar. If your neighbor happens to notice you're wearing his stolen Rolex, well, the gig is up. If you are demented enough to rob your neighbor, don't do it twice. Chances are you might be considered a prime suspect when police decide to investigate the matter. Now, for the not so obvious, don't carry anything that makes noise, which could potentially cause the victims of your burglary to wake up. So turn off your cell phone or put it on vibrate, or tell your friends not to call you between the hours of 1 and 2 a.m. At least tell your secretary to hold all calls. Maybe make a schedule for your friends that lists all your planned illegal activities and their start times so they know not to call you at certain times. Now, here are some other tips. Don't drink a 2-liter pop before the burglary. If a burp sneaks up on you and you can't catch it on time, chances are good that it's going to be long and loud. Don't have Indian bean dip for supper on the night of the burglary. Even if you manage to float an air biscuit without making a sound, the smell could cause your burglary victims to start coughing and gagging and then eventually wake up. If you're not in the same room, it could possibly set off the smoke alarm. Resist the urge to test the stereo or any other electronics before you steal them. Just assume they work, and then you can give them the once-over later when you get them back to your hideout. Don't order pizza to the house that you're burglarizing knowing that it'll be there within the half hour, which will give you just enough time to find the money you need to steal in order to pay for it. If you do find tap dancing shoes, do not put them on before you continue to burglarize the home. I guess when this guy got caught, he would have to tell the person who called him that he would have to get back to him later. The irony is, he could use his one phone call from jail to call the person who inadvertently got him arrested. Alright, who wants ice cream? We have the thumbs up-sicle, the subscribe-sicle, the 3-flavor fave-sicle, and the comment on a stick. Please help yourself to anything you like. A 23-year-old man from South Carolina is in hospital after being hit by an SUV. Now, the story wouldn't be considered all that unusual if it wasn't for the fact that he was playing a real-life version of the video game Frogger. In case you're too young to remember the video game Frogger, the player basically moves a frog across a road, dodging heavy traffic. You then have to navigate the frog across a river of rushing logs and lily pads and other stuff. Now, apparently this guy was discussing the game with his friends before the incident. He then yelled "go" and then ran out into the oncoming traffic of a 4-lane highway. Now, it's no surprise that this guy got hit, but in this case, the repercussions went a little bit beyond the words "game over" appearing on the screen. It's going to take more than a quarter for this guy to start over. Now, the story didn't mention how many points he had actually earned before he got struck. I know that's in poor taste. Okay, so the lesson here is some video games don't translate well into real life. You, of course, would think that would be obvious, but apparently it's not. Some other games that won't translate well into real life. Any side-scrolling beat-em-up or fighting game, your on-screen character may be able to deal with wave after wave of tough guy, but if you attempt to mosey on up to a street gang and then attempt to start beating them down, make sure you have the paramedics ready in advance. Any of the Burnout games are good candidates for games that shouldn't be attempted in real life. For those who don't know, in that game you can run cars off the road to produce these spectacular crashes. Let me just say that the physics in this game and the physics in real life are completely different. Chances are pretty good that you won't make it past your first crash. It's also likely that you'll need to call your insurance company to let them know that you wrote off your car and you only got 200 points to do it. And the obvious one is any of the Grand Theft Auto games. Swiping cop cards may seem like fun in a video game. Pulling drivers out of their cars so you can steal them is also entertaining. And beating up hookers also has its charms. You may be able to get away with those kinds of things in the game. In real life, on the other hand, the authorities tend to not have a sense of humor about those kinds of things. Not to mention that real life hookers will probably kick you in the nuts and mace you. And then when you're lying on the ground in the fetal position in a puddle of your own urine, you're going to wish that you could press any button to continue. Today's question of the day is, name some other video games that probably wouldn't translate well into real life. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's just my perspective. Alright, Fluffy, can we go now? I'm getting kind of tired. Yeah, mule. Yeah. Hello, Fluffy. Hello. Okay, so let's first talk. Okay, if you're demented, chances are you might be considered a prime suspect when police decide to investigate. Maybe make a schedule for your friends that lists all your Maybe make a schedule for your friends that lists all your planned. Could smell the smell. Resist the urge to test the stereo or any other electronics. Do not put them on before continuing to. You then have to He then yelled "go." He then yelled "go."